fuck you. Who are you to tell me that I shouldn't be successful? I was hurt and traumatized and lost, and I was acting out of my pain. That doesn't mean we don't deserve to be successful.
This is Fiona Morris, you guys. She is the cleanpreneur. Like, she is a coach, an educator, a multi-business owner, and just a really amazing all-round human.
Every time I'm told to stay in my own lane, every time I'm told to shut up, sit down, I'm criticized, belittled, I just think, fuck you.
The only way I could describe it is a threat response. Thank God for sight was like, okay, I can see what's going on here. That threat response of competition or worry or whatever we might want to say. What if they like him better? Awesome. They're still here in the collective. They're going to love, the pieces of me that are me. He's so different, and that's amazing.
It's like a rebirth, and it's the entrepreneurial blessing. But you have to be able to look deep into your soul for that one.
Hello, gorgeous things. Welcome to today's podcast, Fiona Morris. Welcome all of you guys who are obviously listening and watching back. I'm super excited to have this guest here with us today. I was honored enough to have her attend one of my amazing intensive workshops, and now I'm off to attend one of hers. This is Fiona Morris, you guys. She is the cleanpreneur, let me tell you. She is a coach, an educator, a multi-business owner, and just a really amazing all-round human, which is exactly why I wanted her here to chat with us. Hi, how are you?
Hi, what an intro. I loved it. I shall deny none of that.
We are all about healthy ego around here, so you
Absolutely.
just sit in that a minute. And look, I am really excited to have you here. Obviously, I really appreciated one, meeting you just as a human in general. So everyone follow her. We'll talk about that later. But two, you have so much profound wisdom, just in these beautiful bites of energy and information and genuine care and stuff like that. And I so very much appreciated that, at my intensive when we first met, having your brilliance in the room to bounce off and really hold that standard of, what business and life and being a fucking human and, messing it up and stumbling our way through and picking up our crowns and putting them back on our head. Like, you were just such a, I don't know, like epitome of all of those amazing things. So
Thank you. We talk about synchronicity and we talk about the universe a lot. And I think for me, being at your not retreat, not conference, at your intensive,
right.
An intensive is, a word that I love. And finding myself in that room was exactly where I was meant to be. And I think we misinterpret sometimes that when we live in alignment and synchronicity, that's going to be easy. And it was actually a very tumultuous time for me that led me to this random invite to be in a room with a woman I didn't even follow. And now don't go a day without checking out what you're up.
I know, I reckon. Yes, I'm obsessed with your social media as well. I'm just like, what's Fiona up to today?
And I think it does go back to, if you're creating something that is of value to the world, you won't have to work your butt off to attract the right people into your life and sphere. That attraction will happen by you stepping into your unknowns and your greatnesses. And I was in the room with you for 3 days as a stranger, and now you're coming to speak at the Scale Up Summit for service-based businesses in a couple of weeks. So yeah, it's an incredible turnaround.
And I think that it was, again, the synchronicity, it was the same on my side. I was like, I have no idea who this person is. Like, I don't assume that I will be prospecting her or trying to sell her anything, or whatever. And I was like, but, this moment has landed here, and I just said yes, because I'm like, of course, like, why wouldn't we want like an amazing human in the room, and let's just see where it goes, because I also trust that amazing humans that I know other amazing humans, and that's kind of a testament, to us all, bless us. And it's interesting as well because really, we're here for this Cosmic Money podcast, and I said at the very beginning, that what this was going to be about was simply highlighting the amazing humans that I know already within my general spectrum and stuff like that. Because yes, I could get all the celebrity guests, and I have plenty of those invites that I could send out there, but I'm like, there is so much brilliance that is just like an arm reach away. Why wouldn't we want to highlight that?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so tell us about how you've become this amazing human that you are now,
Okay,
and
I
flawed and
will.
perfect and all the
All
things.
right. Very quick snapshot is, I grew up in housing commission. We didn't have a great deal. My mum and then my stepdad worked incredibly hard to give us something that I promptly screwed up, and that was a private school education. So I was a rebel. I have had a rebellious spirit for my entire life.
This is why we get on, I think.
I think so. And kicked out of high school, job to job to job, single mum by 21, bounced around a lot of relationships, and in and out of relationships, and then landed. My first cleaning business was an accident. It was with a friend. It just was a hobby. My second cleaning business was in 2011, 2012, where we became a franchise. My husband and I were both out of work in the mining downturn. My marriage and my business, as we know, our lives and our business are a mirror. I was desperately unhappy. I was chaotic. I was out of control, angry. And so in 2017, we had 35 cleaners, a multi-million dollar business. I was 143 kilos, desperately overweight, $285,000 in debt, and the ATO froze our bank account. Hello, wake up call. And people like, oh my God, you look so amazing. You've transformed your life. What happened? It continues to happen. The same thing continues to happen. I am forced to face myself and I don't like what I see.
Mm.
And now I say I was forced to face myself and I'm learning to love what I see. So my husband left. I had to pack up the house by myself. I had choices. And for those that are struggling financially, you're going to be given choices all the time. And quite often, a financial end is a financial beginning. So I'm literally the phoenix. But they gave me an opportunity. The insolvency people educated me in what I was about to go through. I went through the hardest 3 to 4 years of my life. I went personally bankrupt. We sold our client list to another cleaning business, and I was his general manager slash bitch. I was his bitch
Yeah, you're allowed
for
to
the
swear
next
here. It's
18
totally fine.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking of a nice way, but he was fine.
No, no.
Um, and so for 18 months, I got to sit inside his business, watching my clients and my cleaners and his behavior. And he was an incredibly wealthy man, but he didn't have a soul. And so here I was in this land of, well, if you want to be wealthy, you need to be a motherfucker. You need to just money, 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 profit over people. Look at how smart he is. And I hated him a little bit. And so over the next few years, I worked in his cleaning business and then I went back into cleaning training, which is actually where my heart is. I am an educator. So I didn't want to start another cleaning business. I felt like, 3 cleaning businesses, 2 of my own and 1 of his was enough for me. I was licking my wounds and then COVID hit and people were reaching out to me, mostly women desperate for money and they didn't have any. And there was quite a few women escaping, say, DV, where they had no access to money. And so I created, initially it was called Couch to Cash in 7 days. And it's a 7-day program for people to start a small cleaning business. And I started writing that course. I was then given the opportunity to start my own cleaning business, which I hated. I didn't want to do that again because I'd stuffed it up so badly. And in 2021, July of 2021, the Better Clean team was created. And I remember going to the first quote and they called me out of the blue and said, would you like to come and clean these preschools? And I walked in and did the quote. And as I was leaving, she said, what's your business's name? And I didn't have one. And I was like, shit. The Better Clean team. because I'm going to do it better this time. I'm going to be better. I'm going to do it better. And I walked out of there, and it took me exactly 2 years to get the Better Clean team to 7 figures. We now are, as a business of three arms, we are at 1.8. And I can tell you now, the problems I thought I was having, there's really pre 7 figures, and then there's post 7 figure problems in a business. But I have had to do so much work on myself over the last few years that it feels like a millennium, not 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. And the as you said, the phoenix of the last, 2 years or whatever, like to get from, middle of lockdown and everything that was going on then to now where you're sitting, as you said, $1.8 billion, multi-businesses like as well, and all the rest of it. Um, I love it as well because it really speaks to that, that there is a characteristics of success, right? Because if you were able to do it before, and then yes, everything, crashed and burned and all the rest of it, but what didn't was you, like you're still in there and your characteristics and your whatever it is, like what would you say that is that has taken you from, where you were to then be able to redo it all?
I do believe that if I was to come up with one word that was to overarch all of the things I believe that have brought me here, it just would be the resilience. Um, I just watch people give up around me way smarter. There are smarter people, kinder people, better people, funnier people, you know, sweeter people, easier to digest people, like educated, all the things that I'm not, and they're failing, and not reaching, I wouldn't say failing, but not reaching their goals and tapping out a lot sooner than they had wished,
I
not
find
reaching their
that
full potential.
there's like I would agree. I think, courage and resilience are probably top of the list, like I would say as well, because it takes that courage to like to choose it again. And I often say it's like it's not even waking up in the morning and choosing, courage that day and doing the thing. It's fucking in every moment. Every moment. Like it's like it's choosing these little pockets of courage. And I just had a conversation with my partner actually. I went into his office and I sat down for a second, and he's like, what's going on? And I was just, having this moment of that edge, right? Like that edge where it's like, I'm excited and there's newness and there's levels and I'm scared and, like, and I'm human and, the responsibility of it all and stuff like that. And I think that people often see, the front end of like the success or the social media or the person, on the camera or something like that. And what we don't often see, or rather what we don't often envy, is all of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes for them to choose courage and to be that person in every moment.
Absolutely. And I often say courage is a muscle. And I've been out of the gym for a while, right? And I wouldn't walk across the road and try to squat 200 kilos. I just wouldn't do it. I'm going to hurt myself. So, what I think a lot of people try to do is they try to cut corners on the tiny little increments of each day's, the simple, boring, structured side of business, that is just repetitive. It's rep after rep after rep after rep. It's three sets. It's 3 sets of small reps. It's 15 sets of, high weight. It's repeating habits day in, day out that then bring that level of resilience growth to the surface. It doesn't ever get easy. You just get better at dealing with it.
Yeah. And regardless, like you make a good point, regardless of being able to see the results, right? Because the same with any muscle, and this is, it speaks to what you were saying before about how people seem to drop off. And you're like, smarter people, better looking people, like whatever it is, right? It's like, and you go, how are they dropping off? And it's because this, it's almost like expectation. We're so entitled. We're so entitled. And so
Clap
instead of
for
just,
me.
yeah,
Clap for me. Agree
yeah.
with me.
Yes, exactly. And needing that short-term gratification over the long-term results, right? And I see it, and again, you're a business coach, I'm a business coach, and we would see it day in, day out, is that it's more about staying power, and that resilience and the courageous and the every moment, and all the rest of it. Like it's more about that than it is necessarily always about skill set or talent or, confidence or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Got a few notes written down here, and um, it's like the 7 S's to the scale up, which we're going to cover in the scale up series. And I was sort of thinking about how do I explain to people what cuts the pack? Now, you'll notice when a dealer is dealing, they've got a couple of packs, and then at some point in time, they split the deck, right? And I'm sort of just thinking about we hear the survival of the fittest. We know that 8 figure entrepreneurs are 1% of all the entrepreneurs. So I'm going to talk into for a second. Um, if you are truly an entrepreneur, you will do a lot of things solo, on your own, by yourself, without a group of fucking friends, without a warm hug. The minute that I stopped needing the support of others and stopped relying on any form of emotional crutch or compliment was actually the day I felt like I had graduated to a level. Like I can sit here and I can look at a legal letter or something that would have previously taken the wind right out of my sails, that now I think, no, I've got this and I don't need to share it with anyone else. So, for anyone listening, watch how much you share with other people that actually enables you being rescued or helped, or you're not actually creating your own confidence. It's like taking a weightlifter with me to the gym and, him lifting the weight and me spotting him and being like, oh, I lifted that. No, you didn't. Unless you took the full weight of it, if you're I call it crutching, but it's not. It's sort of like you'll notice too that people that I learn a lot about success about by watching people that aren't that. And I notice that there's Facebook groups and there's group chats and there's all of this, I suppose, misery loves company. But when I see someone truly successful, like I even watched you when we're in Bali, quite a lot of successful people will leave a group environment and go out on their own. Even in an activity, I'll watch around the room and I'll watch the most successful guy in the room. He'll go and do the activity that he's been told to do by himself. But other people will go and find a friend to, we're seeking comfort way too often. So that would be one that I would say is at the top of the list.
You and I spoke about that while we were at the intensive as well. Like, we kind of had our little sidebar for a moment there. And yeah, we spoke about like the success, right? Like, see what the successful people are doing in the room. And, if you're at an intensive or a retreat or an event or whatever, are you part of the pack that is going and having a few drinks afterwards or something along those lines? Or are you the one who's going back to your own room, like being in your own space, getting some work done, being inspired, writing the things down, like, and it is interesting to see like the clues of success, and I love what you were saying as well, in relation to who you speak to, because if you, I don't mean down as in less than, but I will use that terminology just to, make a point. If something is going on in business and we're speaking to, let's say sideways, so we're speaking to a friend who is not in business, who is not an entrepreneur, who maybe misery loves company, is used to us having the bitch about the boy or this or that, whatever, and they're going to jump on the bandwagon and be like, yeah, that is shit, and oh my god, and I can't believe, and da 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 da, which is only going to feed our brains more of the same, where it's like, yeah, it is kind of fucked, isn't it? And yeah, it's so hard, and I can't even imagine doing that. And then whatever the story is, the head noise. Whereas if you did actually speak to somebody, either keep it to yourself or, spoke to somebody up, who was more advanced or like, at a different spot, like on the business spectrum than you are, a bit further ahead, then they're going to be like, oh yeah, fair enough, like that happens sometimes, and you just kind of do that, and it's going to be so chill and such a different dynamic, and I'm really protective about who I speak to, and what I share, not to be not to hide anything, never that, but because I understand if people aren't in the arena with us, then what is actually going to be mirrored is not necessarily what is actually going to be in my best interest, and I'm going to be, above all else, I am protective of my own frequency, because I've got to do the things that I need to do every day, which requires a certain amount of energy and frequency and level and capacity and solution and whatever. And if I'm constantly being brought down by, like negative Nelly or whatever it might be, like it is going to be harder. It's like the weight loss journey, right? Like if you're hanging out with people that are just drinking and eating shit all weekend, you're never going to lose weight. But if you're hanging out with all the people at the gym that are like going on big, marathons or something like that, you're going to be able to lose the weight,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. In
Yeah.
our community, I liken it quite often. Instead of sort of saying like it is hard to sort of go like it's downhill and uphill, if you think about business or people in business, and I think about this with my coaching clients, is that we're business babies when we're born, and then we turn into the terrible twos and then the toddlers. It's very difficult for a teenager to go back and hang out with 7-year-olds. And it's the same thing once someone has come out of primary school in business and into high school and then graduated to uni in the proverbial journey. I feel like we can um, empathize with the previous chapter, but we can't really do much more than that. So I think it's really important to find the right advice for the right chapter of your business. And right now, I've sort of got three or four clear sets of clients, and the ones that are in the startup and in the growth phase, none of their problems are new to me. The people are quite unique, but their problems are not in any way, shape, or form unique. So we think that what we're going through is just, oh my God, but you don't understand what's happening to me. Oh, I've been there. I know a lot of people who have been there. That problem is not new. So the overcoming element and the cup half full element of successful people is, I think, a real game changer.
I think when you hit, I don't know what it is, like, I feel like there's a rite of passage amount of things that once you've hit that, you kind of go, okay, there may be a seemingly new problem, let's say. However, I've had to deal with enough problems in my business lifetime so far that I know that this is just the next level one and I will be able to traverse this like all of the others. But there are a lot of firsts that need to happen first, for us to get to that point where, and it doesn't mean that the thing doesn't, whatever comes along our way, it doesn't mean it doesn't fucking hurt or it's not a shock or we're still trying to process it because it's a new first, but you've had enough firsts to kind of go, all right, this is the next one. Got to fucking deal with this motherfucker now. Like, whatever, like, and to keep going, to choose courage, to choose resilience.
And I've heard you say it before, that new level, new devil. And I know that's a topic of one of your podcasts coming
Yes,
up.
coming up.
Yeah. And so at each level, I think if we want to go into the next chapter, we can't do it with the same tools that we worked on in the previous chapter. Yeah, it's got us up to and including here. And so I think that the next S, I'm looking down here. This is an interesting one. It's called sight. It's the ability to see into the future, the past, and the people around you. And it's really interesting how I actually wound up with this on the list. I did recently have a really disappointing leadership experience where I tried to be authoritative to a group of strangers and it wound up really bad. And it was in my coaching program that I'm in, and their job is to pull us aside. And she just said to me, Fiona, what do you see? And I was like, John and Marie, no, what do you see? She's hurt. Yes. She's disappointed. Yes. And it's called leadership sight. And a few weeks ago, so randomly, we've got a church in the country, and my partner's a photographer, and we went to the dog trials. And it was the sheepdog trials, and there's all of these kelpies jumping all over these sheep. Some of the kelpies were good, but some of them wore like biting masks. They were like clearly a rebellious biter. And I said to the guy, do you know much about this? And he said, I run it. I said, that aggressive dog seems to know what it's doing more, and that dog didn't do fuck all. And he explained to me it didn't matter how trained the dog was, how old it was, didn't matter what pedigree it came from, and it didn't matter how evolved, trained, or mature the instructor was. He said, if it lacks sight, it will never lead the sheep. He said, see that dog is frozen still and the sheep are still moving. And all that's moving was the dog's sight. Sight to me has only come to me recently. And I think that it's a spiritual sight, an awareness into the needs of yourself and others around you. But it's also looking around corners. Entrepreneurs need to be able to see into the future. We need to literally see what's coming. And we need to see things for what they are, not what we wanted them to be, not what I thought you were going to do or hoped you would say in my imaginary fantasy fucking land. It's being able to see the truth for the darkness. It's being able to see opportunity in everything. And if you can lock into sight, people will point out things to me and be like, that guy, da, da, da. And I'll be like, I see something different there. And that spiritual sight, I feel is heavily prescribed to us by our trauma and beliefs and filters and stories that we're looking through our world's goggles with. And if I'm looking at Sky through my goggles of 6 months ago, judgment and fear, I should be jealous of Sky. Sky is another coach. She's going to, I was worried about walking into that room with you because we both have such bigness. And I was like, and then there was a moment where you could have easily been intimidated by or annoyed by my participation in your classroom, but we put a different set of goggles on. And I think that level of seeing the world through new goggles, it's almost like a rebirth, and it's the entrepreneurial blessing. But you have to be able to look deep into your soul for that one.
Yes, yeah. I recently had an experience myself with another friend and coach, and I say this with so much love. The only way I could describe it is a threat response, and it wasn't mine, but the threat response was, directed in my direction, and thank God for sight, because I could see what was going on. Oh, I have goosebumps. I could see what was going on in that moment, and instead of being a reaction to this sort of presumed attack threat response kind of thing, I was like, okay, I can see what's going on here. And I think for me personally, that threat response of competition or worry or whatever we might want to say, I can't remember when it dropped away. Oh, I actually do remember when it dropped away. When we've got a podcast coming up with Russell, Russell, who's amazing, who teaches as part of my collectives as well. And when I first brought him into my business, I had this momentary threat response where I was like, oh my God, everyone's going to like him more, and what if, and all of these things. And I had this like kind of whirling of emotion, I guess. And I went, well, that's stupid. And I thought I didn't expect that. And I just observed the reaction, and those feelings, and recentered myself and was like, it's actually like, what if they like him better? Awesome. They're still here in the collective. They're going to love, the pieces of me that are me. He's so different, and that's amazing. And I had this kind of experience with myself, I suppose. And I don't actually remember having threat response ever since.
Yeah, that's
there
interesting.
is no threat response.
Yeah.
Because
I used to have it a lot. I was so jealous. I used to compare myself. I used to be scared of competitors. But also, fun fact, I was the first ever cleaning business coach in Australia.
I've spent my life obsessed with the strategy and energetics of 7-figure business. I've literally traveled the world trying to crack the code. And what I found is that when you couple the pursuit of making massive amounts of money with the strategy and science of success, plus having a desire for significant impact and contribution, magic happens. That's why I created a free 21-day next level vortex money mission magic. Hell yes to that. This 21-day quantum business challenge is here to shift you into new timelines and realities. 21 days to quantum shift your impact, business, and your bank account. These carefully crafted and channeled tools are the exact things I've used to create a life beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm not done yet. If you're ready for incredible transformation now in all areas of your life, more money and financial freedom, freedom of time, freedom of lifestyle, freedom of choice, better, more connected relationships, greater levels of health, and simply calling in more magic into every single day, then these 21 days are going to blow your mind. 21 days of powerful universal, behavioral, and strategic tools to quantum shift your internal state so that you start to see massive changes in your external reality, bringing the metaphysical into the physical. Join the challenge now and get ready for the most powerful 21-day expansion to quantum shift your impact, business, bank account, and your life. Cosmic Money, the podcast, the strategy and energetics of seven-figure business.
And everyone who is a competitor of mine now used to be a coaching client. So my worst nightmare back then was that someone would take something from me, copy me, steal me, and belittle me, and all of that happened, and I didn't die. So it's going to be okay. But what I've realized is that if I feel that threat response in myself, or I look at a woman, and I actually had this when I was in your intensive, I was like, she's a lot. She's a lot to handle. I don't know if I could sit here with the 6 hours. And I was like, she's so loud and she does not take a breath. And then I was like, because I now have the sight, I was able to just really quickly realize that I was noticing in you myself. And I was able to learn a few things from that. And I was able to then appreciate you so much more and deeply. And I actually feel like Russell, because Russell is actually, he's now working with me he's like cleansing, he's healing me, he's helping me heal. And he's like honey, right? And you wouldn't sit down and eat. Even people I know who love honey, they would not sit down and eat an entire jar of honey. They'd wind up sick. Whereas you're a steaming hot bowl to me of porridge, just goodness, good hot, good cold, with a bit of honey on top. It's perfection, right? And I think that if it's meant for you, it will come to you in every way, in every way. But the comparison, and especially for women, this is probably a lesson for women. We are rated. Like I remember guys sitting around and going, she's a 10. We are scaled against each other, the media, social enterprise, even corporate trying to get us to buy and look and be prettier and better and more wonderful than each other, which is completely impossible because we are all just so unique. Women especially, we have to be so committed to raising each other up and to working together and looking for that greatness in each other. And the bottom line is, as entrepreneurs, I'm paid 1/10 of men who do a similar job, 1/10 of men who, there's one in particular I can think of that does like 4 hours a week in his business and he's at 18 million and I'm at 1.8 million. And so I think that women have a long way to go. And if they can keep us battling against each other, then what they're not doing is getting us to create this army of formidable entrepreneur women. We don't hear anywhere near enough about millionaire women. And I think that, every time I'm told to stay in my own lane, every time I'm told to shut up, sit down, I'm criticized, belittled, I just think, fuck you. Who are you to tell me that I shouldn't be successful because I'm flawed, because I've got a history, because I was a bit abusive or I was a bit of a bastard? I was hurt and traumatized and lost, and I was acting out of my pain. That doesn't mean we don't deserve to be successful. Every single woman listening to this could have an ABN and a cleaning business set up within a couple of days, earning $600 on a fucking Saturday and claiming all of the things, against her taxes. It riles me up to think there's people still living in poverty, especially women, and it's because I've got a heart for women. It's not that I don't love men. But some of the women coming to me have got 4 and 5 children and they get $300 or $400, $500 a week. We have so much available to us to rise up as women, to have a financial future, to create financial freedom for our children. And my vision is that we all earn what we are worth and we all create that wealth. But we're told so many money stories and so many money lies. So I really want to encourage everyone to just, no, I was just going to say, just to know that you can have it. I mean, I'm 45 now. Well, not now, in December. I'm 44 right now. But I was 41 and 143 kilos and broke. I had a $2,000 Suzuki. And the things that I've accomplished financially are phenomenal. You would not think that that's even achievable.
So tell us then the next S.
The next S. Okay, so I've got a couple of ones that I'll just rattle off because we know they're required.
Yep.
Strategies.
Yep.
You have to have a strategy. systems,
Yep.
solo. We've already covered this. There's two here that I've outsourced. One is sales. We have a broken sales process. We don't have pieces. The sales process is about 37 steps long. So Martin is coming to speak in Bali on that S.
Yep.
The next one is actually simplicity.
Yep.
And you're coming to speak on this one because what I've realized is this: confused customers don't buy.
Correct.
Nah, who told me that one?
I don't know, some amazing curly haired person, I'm sure.
And chaotic businesses lose staff. It needs to be simple. I've just been reading Diary of a CEO, and he says you need to do it in crayon like it's for a 4-year-old in every area of your business. Simplicity. So I can't wait to hear you speak on simplicity.
Yes,
And
we're
simple
literally,
business.
we're doing, I'm so excited for this as well because I'm teaching what we call sketchpad scalability. And so, as you said, it needs to be so simple. You can literally put it down like in a crayon and a 2-year-old could understand. And the little tagline for it is turning your doodles into dollars.
Ooh, I love that.
So I'm very excited for that session as well. Yeah, at the event.
For those that maybe have a notepad at home, I'll just rattle these off. Strategy, systemization, the solo mission, so solo, simplicity, sales, structure, the spirit that we talked about, sight, the silo. Okay, so this one is interesting. It's called silo, and then the next one is selective, but they're very similar. Silo is the scaling, I suppose it is a skill, being able to put things, when you think of a silo on a farm, there's the grain in that silo and there's this in this silo. When you are scaling a business, do not put all of your things in one place. Now, what I can tell you is when I started scaling, I had a ball of yarn. It was 7 colors and I needed the red to fuck off. And you know yourself, you can either spend years picking that shit apart, but we all know we either cut it up with scissors or we burn it to the ground. So by having things siloed out a little bit, we can also say, you know what, that's not working. I'm going to ditch that. I'm going to separate from that for a little while. And siloing is also really important. When you're scaling a business and you're going into culture creation, you're going to have attracted clients that you no longer want, and you're going to have attracted staff that need to leave. And we call them red flag clients, we call them toxic staff members, but let's just say for a season they were welcomed and wonderful, but we have outgrown them and they need to go to different pasture. That's very hard to do if you haven't siloed anything off. So the silo effect.
You said before, actually, that reminded me of something we're really big on, which is future proofing, like and backups on backups. And you spoke to it as well, even around the sales process and things like that. Everybody listening to this podcast knows I tell a story about how I was very sick, during lockdown myself for 3 months, and the one area we had backups on backups, but the one area we didn't have backed up at that time was the sale, basically like the sales machine. And so it relied on me being able to do, phone calls or webinars, and I had no capacity, to be able to do those things. And so at that time, that was that wake up moment to really make sure that we put the final backup on backup as a protection mechanism, because the business needs to be protected even against us. I truly believe that it needs to be future proofed, like for any potentiality, and the business has to be protected as its own entity, separate to me, separate to staff members or team members, separate to whatever. Like the business is protected at all costs because it is an ecosystem there for us all.
You just led us to the second last S, which is secure. You need to secure your data. You need to secure your contracts. I've gone legal this year, and I tell you what, I'm so proud. It feels really good to do really hard things that you don't want to do. We had a data breach. An employee stole a laptop and shared personal information to a competitor. We didn't have really secure agreements and things like that. So I absolutely believe that future proofing is about protecting the business. And you're right. There was a period earlier this year where I really wasn't behaving in a way that was helpful to the business. And people noticed, but it wasn't until it was too late. I'd done some damage. And I think you're right. We need to protect the business as a separate thing to ourselves. The business is its own silo. I'm my own thing over here. But when your identity is caught up in your business, and this is something really interesting, this isn't who I am. It's just my fucking job. Like, if you said to me, Fiona, I'm going to give you a job and you're going to be a makeup artist. I go, okay, great. You've got purple and glitter there. I can probably recreate that. I'll have a go. If I did a terrible job, I'd be like, hey, listen, Sky, I loved the idea of being a makeup artist, but I'm not a makeup artist. We wouldn't beat ourselves up and go, oh, Fiona, you big failure piece of shit, fucking
you're never going to
hopeless.
amount to anything.
You're never going to amount to
Yeah,
anything.
exactly. Like, oh my
But
God.
when it's our business, we think it's us. It's not us. So, I think there's this thing where you have to die to the identity you've created in your business. And then there's this like lonely season where you're like, well, who am I then? I'm not even me. You walk around bored and then you find hobbies and wealth interests, and it's incredible.
You and I need to have a conversation about what are you doing? You're like craft journaling or whatever it is.
Oh
That
my
like,
God.
oh my God, I'm so obsessed with that at the moment. I'm not doing it, but I'm like watching it and I'm like, oh my God, they're making these beautiful like
I am obsessed. I will buy you some of the stuff and bring it to Bali because
oh my God, shut up.
it's a really wonderful creative outlet. It
It
takes
looks so
only a
good. I
few
love it.
minutes for me to do, and I do love it. And I think when there's a saying, and it's called boring business makes bank. Now, a young entrepreneur, a newborn entrepreneur, even to the toddler, right up through to the teenager, there's drama, right? And we create crisis. We are literally the guy in the movie that's the firefighter that's secretly lighting all the fucking fires. And boring business makes bank. Now, most business owners will never get to the boring business part because of how lonely, terrifying, and slash alone I think that recreating your life at 43 years of age is. And now I've got these like hobbies, and I was 43 and a half years of age when I started experimenting with makeup. So I started revisiting all of the childhood things that I never got to do, and play and excitement. Last week, a friend of mine died. So trigger warning here to anyone, 33 years of age, stage 4 cancer, 4 months, and she was gone from this earth. And I was up at the church at the time at my lifestyle property, and I couldn't get back for the funeral. So I went and I cleared out every shop in town, and I created the most incredible fairy garden. And I sat in the garden and I just played for an hour and then grieved and cried and played. I think we take ourselves so seriously. So the last scale S is unseriously. Take the important stuff seriously and just add a sprinkle of fun to the rest. We don't need to be serious all the time. Bring your personality into your business, bring your style into your business, bring your special kind of crazy, because what I do very fucking well now, and I know they're listening right now, is I repel people away. We call them the haters. But if you are not reaching your haters, you are not reaching people who love you. You have to reach the whole market. So if I watch a couple of videos of Sky and I'm like, oh my God, she is not for me, so good. She is doing her job at finding the people that are for her.
Yeah. I think that's what I was going to say before. I loved at my event when you came up and you were like, you've taught me so many ways that I don't want to do things. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, and I just found that so funny, but also so perfect, because I was like, great. Like that's amazing. I love that, and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Like no
And
drama.
where
Like
does the need come from for me to go, I don't like how she did that, and I don't like how she did that? It just so happened that your intensive is at the same, it's at the same resort. And so I was like, oh, I'm not going to have the tea over there, or I'm going to have more tea. I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that. I think one of the things that we're missing in society at the moment, I feel like we could do a lot more of it, is, and this is a permission piece to everyone, you are allowed to not like the same things as each other without having to demonize the person who likes that thing or who walks in that thing. Because I was like, if I'm sitting here watching Sky just in the same seat that my people are going to be in 6 weeks, 8 weeks time, and I'm finding it overload, holy shit, I'm a high performer. They're going to find it overload. What can I do to break that up? I know what I'll do is I'll do this or I'll do that. I think that we have really somehow lost the ability to disagree without conflict. Like it's not necessary to go and tell everyone that.
yeah, it's that threat response thing again. It's like that threat response, and if I was like not solid within myself, or something, and that doesn't mean ego, that just means like, I'm an intelligent human, like, I want to do good and all the rest of it. And there's things I'll change between now and the next intensive, and that's okay. And so there is no threat response with you coming up and being like, hey, oh my God, I learned so much and so many different ways I'm totally not going to do things. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's great.
Well,
Like,
let's
so
see.
funny.
Let's see.
Like,
Bali's a couple of weeks away.
I'll
I
let you
find
know.
you in creative ways to fuck things up all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
But there was also some gold nuggets, and I think one of the things that from your intensive that I came away with was just that word simple. And I think it might just be one gold nugget. You don't have to do everything in 1 minute. If it took you 44 years to walk into the desert, it is not going to take you 3 days to walk out. There is incremental work that will be done from now till the day that I die. There is milestones, and we do, we set goals, but it's an everyday for the rest of my life kind of mission. And I couldn't believe when I was listening to Rachel's eulogy how much she had accomplished in 33 years and what she had brought to this world. And one of the things that we talked about before we jumped on the call, and it's not an S, but it sounds like it, is celebrating. You will quite often not feel great. Success doesn't feel great. Like I'm sitting here on a podcast in a great, thing. Half an hour ago, I was fielding a legal letter that did not feel great. Um,
I was about to say half an hour ago, because you and I were talking about this half an hour ago, I was on my partner's lap, but that doesn't sound quite right. I'm like, hang on a second. But that was the conversation we were having. I was like, I'm excited and there's all these big, amazing things happening, and I'm terrified and I'm human and I'm amazing. And I'm, like the duality of it all.
and celebrate every win. It's proven. There's research around this scientifically that people that are grateful, people that have such a heart of gratitude, are successful. They feel like winners all the time. And when we talk about gratitude and winning, we're very, very privileged in Australia. So, did you die today? No. Then I think,
Do you
you're
have
one
food in
step.
your belly and a roof over your head? Yeah, you're probably
My
okay.
understanding is if you do not have to worry about where you sleep tonight, where your next meal is coming, you're part of the 1% of the population that is that level privileged. So the other thing that I want to just tap into here is, while you are not being successful, while you are not living your purpose, and while you're not stepping into your own goddamn greatness, who is out there bringing the change to the world that it desperately needs, that you are fucking around in selfishness waiting to demonstrate? There are so many times I've wanted to pack up my bat and ball and go home, especially in the last 6 months with all the hate online, or the adversity that we've overcome. And someone just said to me, Fiona, who will serve the people in your sphere if you give up and you don't live to your potential? That's why we're seeing a world full of increasing poor mental health, because there are people who want to do something about that that is sitting on their hands. There are people who, they want to do something about people obesity or people being fit. I want to do something about the cleaning industry being recognized for the industry that we deserve and seeing more businesses become 7-figure businesses. And so I think what happens if you do fuck around and find out? That level keeps me moving as well.
I can't even imagine, like, and I know parts of your story in your last 6 months and all the, and the hate and the different things that have gone on. And exactly, I always think, who, not you personally, but everyone, like, who are you not to succeed? Because imagine if you, Fiona, like, had have gone, right, that's it, we're packing it all up and I'm done. What would be left is an industry full of hate. Right? Like, because the only one that's holding that beacon of like betterment and wealth in the hands of women and, and a higher standard for ourselves and things like that, like, you're still leading that forefront of that. And so if you were to leave, it's like, what is left then? What is left is an industry of hate. And that would be so unfortunate. I have goosebumps thinking about that because I just can't imagine all those women, and their potential, you know, that are simply better for having you, in existence.
Absolutely. I still have a vision. I still believe that those of us that are at that leadership level in the cleaning industry can resolve our differences and come together. I still hope and dream for that. I may die on that hill, but I absolutely want to see in my lifetime harmony. I want to see that. I don't mean to sound really woo woo, but I just think that underneath everything, no matter what industry we're in, the first thing that I watch happen to people when they get really successful is they spend heaps of money, right? These are my milestones.
I was about to ask you, as we were talking about celebration.
When I reach milestones, I bought my first property. I've got 4 of these. They actually all represent something. This was when we bought the church. This was when someone actually said to me, "Oh my God, you're so full of yourself. You're always peacocking."
Yes, I've been calling myself a peacock lately, just as I have something to go off the table.
Now, would you ever look at a peacock if you've ever watched a peacock be a peacock, it is magnificent. So why do we put people down for being magnificently just them?
Just them. Yeah.
Absolutely. But what happens is we grow a business and we get successful and then we spend a bunch of money. This is what I watch. And then people become wealthy.
Gorgeous being. It is truly my honor to have you here joining me on this co-created adventure through the strategy and energetics of 7-figure business. However it is that you landed here, whether we know each other personally or professionally, whether a friend shared this podcast with you as they thought you might get something out of it, or whether you stumbled across me by sheer accident or divine intervention, I want to thank you for being here and I want to ask you a little favor. It is my joy to do what it is that I do every single day. And so if you have received anything here, a piece of magic, a strategy, a mindset shift, something that has transformed you in some way, I ask that you share this podcast with others so that together we can transform the world for the better. One business, one human, one frequency, and one podcast at a time. Cosmic Money, the podcast. The strategy and energetics of 7-figure business.
And I remember when my accountant sat me down and he said, "Fiona, what are you going to do with $500,000 a year? You've bought your properties, you can travel, obviously go on holidays." He's like, "But we need to start having a conversation in the next couple of years about what you intend on doing in the world. You can put the 500 grand in the bank, you'll pay tax on it, you're probably left 400 a year. What are you going to do with that money?" And my brain, he said, "Take your time." I said, "I don't need to take my time. My cleaners cannot live on their own." Okay. So cleaners don't earn enough to live in their own fucking house, and they will probably never own their own property on their wage. So we have a vision for 10 sustainable, affordable housing property developments that people can come and live in for a season of redemption or healing. they will be on a traineeship for the year in cleaning, and then we're going to build these properties. And it might be something that, maybe comes into fruition in my lifetime. It could be in my son's lifetime. But imagine working a full-time job and not being able to afford your rent. Most of our cleaners either live with family, they flatmate with someone, or they live in some tiny little shithole because $300, $400, $500 a week rent is half their pay, if not more. So what I then notice with people that get successful is their heart starts to burn for this world. And that is why I want everyone to be successful, not because of the money. And I want everyone to be successful in their own way. For some people, that means, for my friend Jess, she's a mum of 6. She works remote for our business. And her level of success is she just wants to buy a family home and be a soccer mum. And that, to me, when she sends me photos of her spending her entire evenings and weekend at fucking soccer, that is not my level of success, but it is her bliss.
Amazing.
Everyone should have that. And you can have that.
Tell us about your upcoming event. I definitely want people to know about it and know about you and, and the word to get out. Yeah. So that we can
Thank
obviously
you.
help
Okay, so
transform more.
the events that we've got coming up, we own Start My Cleaning Biz and Grow My Cleaning Biz, and we help cleaning businesses, carpet cleaning businesses, gardeners, any service-based business. We help them scale up to 1 million. We help them grow to 1 million and then scale to 4. So we have got Bali coming up, which is an intensive scale-up summit in October. And then following that, we are going Brisbane, Gold Coast, Newcastle, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, and then WA every weekend. Every weekend from the first weekend of November to December, we have our planning days where we actually plan for 2025. Because guess what else successful people do? They don't wait to January to plan their fucking year. So we've literally only got 9 or 10 weeks till Christmas. This year is done. It's over. I want to start talking to people about what's your dream for 2025? What's your business? What's your life doing in 2025? And how can we help magnify your service-based business up to 1 million and beyond? That's what we've got coming up.
Oh my gosh. How can people then get in contact with you? And obviously, reach out. Where are the places that you hang out? Because I know you hang out in a few places.
Yeah, I do. The best place to find me for a bit of entertainment, if you're not in the cleaning industry and you just want to see a bit of crackadoodle, is on TikTok. My name on there is Clean Biz Coach. My name on Facebook is Fiona Morris, but the best place to find us to get quality content would be on Instagram at Grow My Cleaning Biz or Start My Cleaning Biz. We're on all the socials. You can Google us. We've even got an online store for people that want to clean their homes and clean them to a professional standard.
Amazing. I have no interest in cleaning my home to a professional standard. That is what
Totally
my
fine. I've
amazing
got a
cleaner.
cleaner too. I
Yes,
love my
actually.
cleaner.
So look, I have one more question for you that we ask all of our guests is if you had to give one piece of advice, 1 to 5, whatever, it's fine, to the people listening, to help them, with the strategy or energetics to get to a 7-figure business, what would that be?
The strategy or energetics to get to a 7-figure business. You do not have to be the best. You absolutely have to outlast. So I hear a lot of people sort of going, we're so high quality, they overservice and they people please. Death to the people pleaser in us. It does not help us get wealthy. And the first thing that you actually find in people pleasing is rooted in that lack of self-confidence. Be your biggest cheerleader. You'll get called arrogant or, up yourself, but you're going to need it every single day, because if you're going to change the world, you're going to need to cheer yourself on every minute of every day. Even when Fiona thinks Sky is crazy, she is going to beat to that beat of her own drum. So the mission is self-confidence and self-worth, and believe in yourself.
I always love the saying, if somebody tries to tell you you're too much, tell them to go find less.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn,
Yeah.
snap.
Boom.
Yeah. I heard someone else say to me the other day, or say the other day, if people hate you, they either want to be you or they want to be with you. And I was like, oh, damn, that's so true. When I look at someone and I've got animosity towards them, I'm just jealous. I'm just jealous.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
There's
they
something
hurt
being
me, I
mirrored.
wish.
Yeah. It's
If
like,
they've
oh,
hurt me and I hate them, I've got to resolve those issues and I've got to
yeah.
roll on. But I love that one. Go look for less.
Yeah, go look for less then. Yeah, let
Mm,
me be a peacock over here and you can find
yes.
yourself whatever, a pigeon then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the reminder. All of you
Yeah.
deserve to flash those feathers.
Yeah, fuck yes, love that. Look, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for your brilliance. I do actually genuinely mean that. I've really appreciated our, short but great time together so far. And I just
Well, you're
know
about to have another week with me, so
I know.
brace
Look,
yourself.
I appreciate it. I am so ready for this. And yeah, again, everybody who's listening, please go out there and follow Fiona and
Thank
get the
you.
word out. So thanks, Fiona.
Amazing. Amazing. Great to see you all.
Cosmic Money, the podcast, the strategy and energetics of seven-figure business.